Justice Hart has lifted this point on this point in time, it's not that it's to the best of my knowledge based on the research. Now, do I need to do that as an amendment to put it on there? Okay, so, okay, consider it and whether I'm going to ask.
Would everyone please take their seats? Good evening. We'd like to welcome you to our Kenner Council meeting of February 21st, 2013. Would you please stand for the invocation, which will be presented by Honorable Mark Johnson, Judge of Jefferson Parish District Court and former councilman of District 1.
Thank you, Madam President. It's an honor being back here, and thank you for this opportunity once again to do the prayer. Similar to old times. Many times before a council meeting years ago, I used to start the council meeting, and I must say, Kenner has really been a great place for me to serve as a public servant, and I want to congratulate you guys on doing a good job and keep up the good work. So let's bow our heads in prayer. God, we thank you once more again for this opportunity you've given us. Thank you, God, for the many blessings you've bestowed upon us. Thank you for the opportunity you've given us to serve the people of this city. God, give us the strength. Give us all that we need to do the job that we're doing. We thank you for Jesus who died on the cross so that we may have a right to the tree of life. God, we pray for those who are without food and without shelter. God, we pray that we continue to be a blessing to someone else. These all blessings we ask in Jesus' name. In the first name say, amen.
Councilwoman Brannigan, would you lead us in the pledge?
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, in liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. The consent agenda this evening only pertains to, number one, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of February 7th, 2013.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilman Rayno. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding resolution number B16313, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 15th, 2012, to determine whether or not the building located at 3045 Tupelo Street, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Denopoulos, to open a public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
We're now in a public hearing to discuss resolution number B16313. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter, please come forward, give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Patricia Davis, 3126 Ohio Street.
Hold on a second, Patricia. Let me make sure your microphone is on.
It's on.
Okay. Patricia Davis, 3126 Ohio Street. I'm here in reference to the public hearing for Article B16313. I'm asking, this has been deferred since November. We're now in the month
Patricia,
of...
excuse me, I've just been asked to let them give a description of the property by our Mr. J. Bear.
Yes.
Were you, who was giving it?
Me,
Were
yeah.
you giving it to me? Okay, they didn't.
Your mic's on, ma'am.
Okay. She's going to give a description of the property.
Okay.
You will be allowed to speak. I apologize for that.
That's no problem, thank you.
When you're ready.
Good evening, council. The structure in question is a one-story, single-family, pile-supported slab foundation bearing a municipal address of 3045 Tupelo Street. The property is owned by Ms. Martha Harris and Ms. Beverly Davis. On June 28, 2012, it was determined that the property located at 3045 Tupelo was unsafe and dangerous under building codes for the City of Kenner, as well as Sections 557 et al. Of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Kenner. On July 19, 2012, a notice was sent certified mail to the property owners advising them of the property and building violations. The notice was sent to the property owners at the above referenced address, as well as addresses found via search engines. After certified mail was returned unclaimed and being unable to locate the property owners, a carrier is appointed by the city. As of this date, the violations have not been corrected, nor have there been any attempts to comply. The city has been maintaining its property for several years, and there currently amount of $17,394.27 owed to the City of Kenner for 22 grass liens. The City of Kenner has also contracted services of an engineer, and it is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the City of Kenner, who provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. The interior of the structure has been gutted. Numerous roof framing members have water rot and structurally compromised. The east face of the roof framing is sagging. Portions of the roof sheeting are missing, thus compromising the lateral stability of the roof structure and exposing the interior of the structure to the elements. Roof structure is a severe safety issue to the public and is in imminent danger of collapse. Based on the report of the engineer, the structure is a serious public hazard and the roof is structurally unsound, and it recommends that the city take the steps necessary to declare the public nuisance and have it abated by repair and brought up to current city codes and ordinances, or to be demolished.
Thank you. Ms. Davis, did you wish to speak now?
Ms. Shaw basically addressed everything about that property. What I'm asking is that the council move forward and to have that property demoed. It's in the path of where children walked to go to school, so it's really a nuisance. It's right on the corner of Tupelo and 31st. It's an eyesore to the area, and we need to move forward with moving the blight from our area, and this home is one of the homes we need. We hope that the council would approve to have demolished. It's beyond repair. So with that being said, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good
Could you
evening.
identify yourself, please?
I'm Latoya Simons, 8932 West Metairie Avenue, and I'm an attorney and a curator regarding the prior described property. As curator, I actually contacted one of the property owners, Martha Harris. I was unable to locate at that time Beverly Davis. I did send her a certified mail, and she called me as well as sent a fax letter, and I spoke with her regarding the property. Once I sent her a certified letter regarding that first hearing in November, I was then contacted by her attorney, which is also her son, on behalf of Ms. Martha Harris and Beverly Davis. And as the council is aware, we've deferred this meeting several times in courtesy of the attorney. The attorney had told me that they were having problems with Road Home, that they were denied and they had to appeal, and that they did have a letter stating that Road Home was going to pay them an amount of $69,000. And he told me that, but they didn't have a date as far as when they would receive those funds. He told me he expected to receive those funds between 60 and 90 days, but that was back in November, and of course, now we're in February. For this particular hearing, I sent a certified letter to the attorney and also faxed him. There was no response regarding my fax, but I had confirmation that he received the fax, and the certified letter was unclaimed. And he is yet to notify me regarding anything else regarding this property.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No one else wishes to speak? Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Denopoulos to close the public hearing. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Motion to approve by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Denopoulos. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would first just like to say that many times we hear about the administration, about the council, about the different departments not being in some people's opinion, fair, or not being timely, or not trying to work with the homeowners on a number of different issues. This is not one of those times. The code department, the administration, the council, in my opinion, have bent over backwards to try to accommodate the homeowners. Not the original owners who purchased the property, because I'm not sure if they're still alive or live somewhere else, but with the siblings who's their responsibility to ensure that this property is maintained, first of all, before it gets in this condition. Now, I understand we had hurricane issues, a couple of more that was kind of serious, but this has been going on for 6, 7 years, and the neighbors in this neighborhood has had to deal with this for 6 or 7 years. We have contacted them. We have pushed this back, like the attorney said, a number of times. We have spoken with the person who allegedly were the attorney to represent the family, and he is an attorney. So he understands the liability, he understands the process. There's no misunderstanding for that. But still in all, we are still being given the runaround. It comes a point where you have to act upon this for the betterment and the safety of the community. We are at that point right now. And I would just like to thank the Code Department, Attorney Shaw and her department, Ms. Simons, the attorney, for just doing everything possible to try to help out. But we are where we are right now, and we must move forward with this. So I will ask the support of the council for us to give and Attorney Shaw, could you please give us the requirement that is required for this property as far as how many days once we vote to demolish it?
We're asking that it be done within the time delays allowed by law, which is normally 30 days, because they have a time to appeal. But we are going to start the process of getting all the disconnects, which takes time with the parish water department, with Atmos. And when we get that done, we already have a price through our contracted party to go ahead and tear this property down.
Right, thank you. So even now, there still is a process in place for them to appeal. And could you explain how does that process work with the appeal as far as within the 30 days, what do they have to produce, what type of contracts, what type of schedules?
They have to file a pleading in district court to show why it shouldn't be demolished, and it's incumbent upon them to file that. Like I said, we have contacted them. We've been in contact with as late as, I think Tuesday, we got an email, and I explained to Mr. Harris, who's an attorney, that we were moving forward on Thursday with this. He did explain about the road home, but we've been hearing that, like the curator said, she was told that when she first contacted him, and we still don't know about any funding. But the constituency has had to live with rodents coming out of this home. This house has not been maintained, and the city is they basically owe the city $17,000 with the weedlings that are there. So I believe it's in the best interest of the community to go ahead and move forward demolishing the property at this time.
Thank you, Attorney Shaw. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Hearing no other discussion, please vote to approve.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding Summary Ordinance Number 11,442, an ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 1 and 2 of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances regarding vehicles for hire. Madam Chairman, we've received a request this evening for a one-meeting deferral.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Denopoulos for one meeting deferral. Or did you wish it the other way, Mr. Denopoulos? Did you wish to make? Okay. Please vote.
One more vote, please. Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 for a one-meeting deferral. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is Summary Ordinance Number 11,464, An ordinance amending Section 15-21 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances to add an all-way stop sign at the intersection of Grandlake Boulevard and Maurepas Lane.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilman Stagney. Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And for the viewing public, basically, there's a section of Grand Lake which, basically, there's some inconsistency as to the north side has no all-way stop. However, the south side entrance does, and yet the subdivision is mirror imaged on both sides. It was some inconsistency. I did call a local firm, Hartman Engineering, and they actually went out there, and I would like to include the 7-page documentation to the legislation. If you mind, Madam Clerk, supporting the application of putting an all-way stop. If any of the councilmen would like to see it, it's there for their viewing. However, this is just going to make it consistent, and when you have things consistent, people don't misunderstand how they're supposed to drive into egressing into neighborhoods. Much like, I can tell you that we're going to, hopefully at one time, we're going to eventually standardize some of the speed limits that we have throughout Kenner, because I know there's several inconsistencies as well in my district. This is just one thing that I'd like to get taken care of for the Grand Lake subdivision. Thank you much.
Thank you. Mr. Denopoulos, are you including that in the
Yes.
legislation? So do we have to amend it? So,
No, we're only attaching it to the.
okay,
Yeah,
so
it's just
only as an
supporting-
attachment.
Madam Chair, it's just supporting documentation. It's by Hartman Engineering. It includes, what, their qualifications to make comments on this particular intersection and place a stop sign. It's just supporting documentation and
Thank you.
giving us the right to do what we're doing.
Thank you, Councilman Denopoulos. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution requesting the immediate enforcement of Chapter 16, Article 2, Section 16-59 of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances as it pertains to vehicles for hire that use the streets within the City of Kenner. Madam Chairman, we've also received a request for a one-meeting deferral.
Motion by council, we're asking for a deferral, so I don't think you can amend it. Indefinite deferral? And then you can speak on the indefinite deferral. Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilman DeFrancis. For an indefinite deferral, anyone wishing to speak on the indefinite deferral? Councilman Denopoulos.
Thank you. Without getting into too much, this was actually a piece of legislation that the Taxi Cab Committee had drafted during our meetings and that we had with the City of New Orleans when we were having some difficulty in actually connecting on what applications would happen to the Kenner City cabs operating at the airport. We were able to handle and adjust most of that situation. So at this time, this legislation basically should be just indefinitely deferred. And I think Councilwoman DeFrancis would agree, and as well as Timothy, our code director, Timothy, assured that at this point in time, it'd be best to definitely defer at this time.
Councilwoman DeFrancis, you wish to speak on the indefinite deferral? You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Council President. Again, my thanks to the members of the committee and Ms. Shaw, who worked diligently. And my thanks also to Jefferson Parish and Orleans Parish, because we really have worked hard together, I think, as a group to make sure that the issues were addressed. And it could have been rather contentious, and instead we came to a positive resolution. That's always the best way to move forward, to have issues addressed and not just, fight over territorial rights. Unfortunately, that happens too often. So I think it is absolutely appropriate at this time that we have an indefinite deferral, and I totally concur with Councilman Denopoulos. And my thanks again to everyone concerned.
Thank you, Councilwoman DeFrancis. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution requesting that the Jefferson Parish Council change the precinct boundaries of Kenner precincts K-17 and K-18 to allow the residents of Arizona Avenue, Arkansas Avenue, and California Avenue located within Kenner Council District 2 and currently located in precinct K-17 to be moved to K-18 to afford those residents greater and more convenient access to their voting precinct.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This resolution, minus maybe 3 words, 4 words, was passed unanimously by this body in March of 2012. It is a simple resolution that allows, requests from the parish to allow those residents located in District 2 on Arizona, now this is all east of the Duncan Canal, Arkansas and California, up to West Esplanade, starting from 32nd Street. It's about 106 voters that currently have to go vote in K-17, which is at Christ the King Lutheran Church, much further away, when they could be voting at K-18, where everybody else in that same neighborhood votes, at Woodward Gym, just blocks away. Mr. Robert Martini first brought it to my attention. I've had to take him to the voting polls. Also, Mr. Gilmore, who has since passed away, lived at the corner of Arkansas and West Esplanade, had requested that I do this some years ago. There was some initial conversation with former Councilman Louis Kangemi, and then now Councilman Ben Zahn. At the last meeting, we put this resolution on. There were some questions. We have since had a meeting with Councilman Zahn, Mr. Alan Gandolfi, Dennis DeMarco, Councilwoman DeFrances, and some of Councilman Zahn's staff regarding the timing of doing this, doing some constituent outreach to find out if the constituents in the area want that, and I believe Councilman Zahn will be doing that. I've already sent a letter talking to the constituents, and these are residents inside District 2. It does not affect any council district other than District 2, and it would be making it easier for them to go vote at a precinct that's much closer to them. I appreciate Councilman Zahn having the meeting because there was so much misinformation that was out there. School board in December finally finished their redistricting. They've sent it up to the Justice Department, and they're waiting on pre-clearance. And while they're waiting, we're going to go ahead and send this resolution to the parish. It's going to take them some time to get their research done, and at some point, I'm hopeful that the parish councilman will move on this to allow those voters easier access and an opportunity to vote. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Councilwoman DeFrances, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. I did attend that meeting, and I thought it was important to do so to make sure that we had as much information as possible before we move forward. As some of you know, we did pass this resolution 7-0 in the past, but unfortunately that was not, it was not feasible at that time because a moratorium existed, and therefore the Jefferson Parish Council could not move forward on this issue. And so it was, again, imperative to me to get as much information as possible. So I did attend the meeting with Councilman Zahn. And there were some assurances and some made by Councilman Zahn, as well as some questions that had to be answered. And he has assured us, I believe Councilman Stagney feels the same way, that he will check as well. I believe that, I just heard that Councilman Stagney already sent a letter recently out. I talked to Councilman Zahn this afternoon and Mr. Gandolfi this afternoon. And Councilman Zahn, I believe, is also sending out a letter to the residents to make sure that we have input from them, because they're the ones impacted, to be honest with you. And we want to make sure it's not just 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 people, but that the majority of those 3 streets feel that way. So that was number one, and that was important to me, that we address the concerns of those people that are going to be impacted. Now, the second concern involved the moratorium. Until the school board had submitted their redistricting plan, the Justice Department was not going to move forward at all. And the school board has moved forward and has sent in the redistricting plan. I checked with Ms. Denopoulos, Ms. Denopoulos-Bossarge, I believe I mispronounced it again, this afternoon, and she told me that as far as she knew, that the Justice Department had not given them an answer yet. I also talked to Mr. Gonzalez this afternoon to make sure I had as much information as possible to find out if he had heard whether the Justice Department had given an answer and if they had lifted the moratorium. And as of this afternoon, they had not. However, I also talked to Councilman Zahn, and he assured me that he would stay on top of it and would get, again, do due diligence and make sure that when he does move forward, that both issues will be addressed. Number one, that the people impacted will be in favor of it. Number two, that the moratorium has been lifted, because again, until the Justice Department lifts the moratorium, nothing can happen. I want to make sure that those people, because they do vote for District 2, not District 4, that have been voting all these years, and it's quite a few years at Christ the King Church, that they find it a positive. I did measure the distance. It's not significantly one way or the other. But again, it's more convenient, I do understand, because of the canal and the issue of crossing the canal, that is probably more convenient for them to vote at the gym rather than at Christ the King's Church. So I will be supporting the resolution and making sure and feel confident that Jefferson Parish will do due diligence before taking any steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Councilman Denopoulos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, you know, Joe, this is good legislation. I mean, it helps the constituents in your district, and once again, the more convenient you make them to vote, the more voting will happen out of that area. And of course, we always want to hear, you know, and them to vote so we can hear their voice when they vote. So this is a good legislation. I'm glad you did it. I had to do it in my district back when Rhine Street, same situation. Good job, Joe. Keep it up. I think it's good legislation, and it's going to help. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Denopoulos. I agree with everything you said. I think to make it as convenient as possible for voters to get to those polls is the key factor in getting the voter turnout. So I appreciate you putting it on. Councilman Stagney, did you wish to close?
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate Councilwoman DeFrances, Councilman Zahn, and all of us that met. The pre-clearance issue, they just going through the normal process. Typically, it takes 60 days. And you know, if you've researched the school board, they've gone from one minority district to two, and that's part of that Justice Department pre-clearance to make sure that minority voters are well represented. So I think there's going to be no problem. We just have to wait for that to come back. And, you know, this split precinct splitting over the canal is just a relic of several censuses ago that we can correct, or the parish can correct when the timing becomes right. So I appreciate the support of my colleagues. I've only done this because I was asked to do this by the constituents. I mentioned two of them here today. So hopefully we can move forward and make voting more easily for these residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. I know that you were closing, but the mayor has put his light on. Did you wish to address this matter, Mr. Mayor?
The only thing I wanted to say here, and y'all mentioned voting, is just to remind people it's early voting through Saturday at the 408 Minor Street in South Kenner. I just wanted to throw that out there. So,
Okay, that's early voting.
early voting, yes.
Okay, thank you. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13C is a resolution appointing Earl LeGrew and Ali Mabed to the City of Kenner Board of Zoning Adjustments.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilwoman Black. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0.
Are either of these gentlemen here tonight? Thank you.
Item 13D is a resolution requesting the administration through the Department of Parks and Recreation to explore the possibility of offering lacrosse as an organized sport.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilman Carroll. Councilman Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Way back in the early 70s, when my family wanted to find a permanent residence to move to, we chose the City of Kenner because of an outstanding recreation department. And back then, we were offering programs that some other people were not offering. And several months ago, two constituents, Stephen Dunn and another person, approached me about checking with the administration to see if they could offer lacrosse as a sport in our city. And I told them I would offer up some legislation, make that request. And looking at it, lacrosse is one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. Over the last 10 years, they've had a 270% increase. In college, the NCAA, it is the fastest growing sport. And if you've seen it, it has a lacrosse stick, and they have face protection, helmet, shoulder pads, throat protectors, chest protectors. I'm only asking if the administration would look at seeing if this is something feasible for our city. One of the things the administration is trying to do, and this council is trying to do, is attract young families to our city. And just last weekend, I think there were 18 colleges, 6 high schools at Pan American Stadium with tremendous crowds. And this is an upcoming sport. So I would just ask Mr. Maricoli, through Mr. Yenny and the rest of the administration, to please look at this, maybe put some numbers to it, maybe even put something on the website to see if there would be some interest among our young people. And I'd ask for my colleagues' support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Councilwoman DeFrancis.
I'm simply going to say, whenever we can offer more sports and recreational opportunity to our children, I'm always all for it. So, Mr. Maricoli, I also support it very much, and I thank Councilman Stagney for bringing this resolution to the floor. I think our children deserve every opportunity possible to be involved in, in sports. I think it teaches them so many wonderful, teamwork, those attributes that are so important in moving ahead in society and growing up to be productive citizens. So thank you for your resolution, Councilman Stagney.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And I, too, would like to thank Councilman Stagney for this. And like Councilwoman DeFrancis said, that the more opportunities that we can offer to the children that live in the city of Kenner, I think the better that it places them in a position for possibly scholarships, for physical activity, and obviously, as Chief Carraway would say, less time to do things that he will have to meet them somewhere down the road. So I think this is something, a plus for us. I'm all into sports. Both my children played, the gym rat myself. I don't know much about lacrosse, but I do know one major fact: the greatest running back in the National Football League, Jim Brown, played lacrosse and is in the Hall of Fame. So it tells you that I think the attraction is the fast pace, the physicalness of it that attracts the younger people to this. And if there is an opportunity for us to participate, I think they will draw to it very well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And likewise, I can tell you lacrosse with the high schools is one of the fastest growing sports they have. I went to a Rummel open house about 4 or 5 months ago, I don't know what it was, and my son was gravitated to that table. And it was amazing when I talked to the coach how many high schools have that program and how many tournaments they have throughout the state in Mississippi. It is very much a growing sport, and I tell you what, if we can start them young and get them into that program early, this is nothing but a plus for the city of Kenner. Thanks.
And Councilman Denopoulos, and if they have night games, they're going to have electricity and lights to play, right?
Yes,
So do you
Madam
want to say
Chair.
something on behalf of
Well,
the district?
just prior to this meeting starting tonight, there was a power outage in Kenner up in the north section of Kenner. 1,500 homes were affected. And I just got a text from Energy and saying in the next 5 minutes or so, all that power should be restored. So that's going to be good for the 1,500 homes, of which my home was affected. And I know Councilwoman Brannigan's home was also affected, so it spanned several neighborhoods. So it was almost 1,500 houses that were out. Thank you, Madam Chair,
I'm
for
certain when they
allowing me to
watch-
walk into that one, okay?
Well, I'm certain tomorrow when they watch this on TV, they'll say, hey, look, we got this power back on yesterday.
I guess dinner's going to be late tonight. I don't know.
Thank you. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 13E is a resolution in support of an application for the creation of the Rivertown Arts and Cultural District.
We have a motion to defer on this, so 13, no, that's 13E. Pardon me. Would you please read that again?
It's a
It's on a
resolution.
supplemental.
A resolution in support of an application for the creation of the Rivertown Arts and Cultural District.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman DeFrancis. if there's any discussion, Mayor, did you wish to speak on this, since none of the councilmen are? Jay? Okay, Mr. Abear, our planning director, would you please address the council? You didn't have it on.
This resolution is part of an application that we're about to send off to the State Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism in our efforts to designate the Rivertown Historic District as an art and culture district. The resolution just simply verifies to the State Department that our governing authority supports our efforts in doing this.
Thank you, Mr. Abear. Councilman Carroll. Light bulb just went off, huh?
Thank you, Madam President. This is just one more thing that the historic area of Rivertown is offering to not only the citizens of Kenner, but all of the surrounding areas and where we live, to attract more people. And because we were applying for it, obviously we have to wait till this process happens. But there are a couple of advantages, without saying a whole lot, that I think is advantageous to be part of this. One being the district, the income from it is in the corporate franchise tax credits for eligible expenses for rehabilitation for owner-occupied or revenue-generating historic structures. The second thing would be provides an exemption from sales and use taxes for proceeds received from the sale of origin of one-of-a-kind type arts or historic functions. So these are just a couple of things. I'm sure Mr. Abear and Mr. Michael Lentz from the department will be bringing us more information as we proceed along with this project for the city of Kenner, which I think is fantastic. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. And I think that we should acknowledge Mr. Mike Ince, because he's done a lot in getting grants for our city, and we appreciate whatever you do to help us in getting grants from the government for our city, and in particular Rivertown, which we have worked so hard to try and make it a place that people realize that this is where the history of our city began. So thank you so much. Councilman Stagney, did you wish to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Just Councilman Carroll was talking about some of the benefits, and one of the other benefits appears to be that you'll also get individual tax credits for eligible expenses incurred doing rehabbing even a owner-occupied residential or owner-occupied mixed-use property. And that's one of the things I know Councilman Carroll, the Rivertown Advisory Committee, and the administration, they're trying to bring life back to Rivertown. And I think this is a really good piece of legislation, and this may be one of the steps towards really taking off in Rivertown. So I appreciate the administration and Councilman Carroll's work on this.
Thank you. Councilman Carroll to close.
Thank you, Madam President. And obviously, the Planning Department is doing a lot of work along with the administration, and we will proceed as it goes along. But like anything, the support, the success of it depends on the citizens that live in the city of Kenner. And I think if you have a vested interest, if you have the skills for this type of historical organization, please phone the department to let them know that you do. You may be able to be part of it in some way, shape, or form. And if Mr. Abear would please give the department's telephone number so people can call and give information, to get information also about it.
Well, if they want more information on this program, it's a state program created in 2007, they can contact us at 468-7280.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda.
We had none.
Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is Summary Ordinance Number 11,465, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of state contract number 408186 through Vehicle Parts and Equipment Company Incorporated, doing business as Headquarters 911 for the purchase of lights, sirens, accessories, and installation for city vehicles on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $75,000 annually for the Department of Fleet Management, the Kenner Fire Department, and the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilman DeFrancis. Please, do we have an amendment to this, ma'am? 15A?
Aye, 15 aye.
15I. Somebody wrote that wrong in my book. Thank you. Please vote.
One more. Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15B is Summary Ordinance Number 11,466, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Vehicle Parts and Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $6,776 for the purchase and installation of 14 Model C 1800-CAPR-1 Havas consoles or equal and 14 Havas CML map lights or equal for 2012 model year Chevrolet Caprice police sedans as per specifications contained in letter bid number 12-1493 for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilman Reyno. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is Summary Ordinance Number 11,467, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Vehicle Parts and Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $9,072 for the purchase and installation of 14 security screens/partitions and seat protectors for 2012 model year Chevrolet Caprice vehicles as per specifications contained in letter bid number 12-1492 for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is Summary Ordinance Number 11,468, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated for a 2-year contract for miscellaneous air conditioning, heating work, labor only, on an as-needed basis for the City of Kenner not to exceed $300,000 per year as per sealed bid number 12-6114 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilman Carroll. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is Summary Ordinance Number 11,469, an ordinance amending Ordinance Number 10,327 to increase the authorized contract amount of the annual contract with SEAN Construction Services Incorporated to provide labor only for miscellaneous carpentry work from an amount not to exceed $75,000 per year to an amount not to exceed $125,000 per year for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilwoman DeFrancis, second by Councilman Stagney. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Denopoulos abstaining.
Put your light, you're on.
Madam Chair, thank you. The reason for my abstaining from this is that I have personally used the services of Shawn Construction Company in the past and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 15F is Summary Ordinance Number 11,470, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Southern Construction of Metairie, LLC, in the amount of $36,000 for the University City Subdivision Sign Project, in accordance with sealed bid number 12-6110 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilwoman DeFrancis.
On what?
Second by Councilman Reyno. Councilman Denopoulos, did you wish to make a motion on this, or do you wish to speak?
Well, it's District 5.
Okay. Would you change that to Councilman, that opening from Councilman Denopoulos back to Councilwoman DeFrancis, seconding?
That's fine. I need to speak on it, please. Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I do want to thank my two at-larges for chipping in on this project. The project came in a little over what I expected on it, and there was several reasons. Basically, that the that the signage for University City subdivision is going to be pile supported, and we have a lot of utilities and some very old oaks in the area, and we don't want to hurt those oaks, so there's a lot of precaution that has to be taken into the building and the construction of this sign, which is actually the gateway into North Kenner from Loyola Drive, and I just want to thank both my at-larges for participating in this project and keeping it within my budget. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Councilman Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to compliment Councilman DeNapolis. University City is a place where I grew up, and it's never looked nicer. If you go down, the medians are being landscaped like they've never been before. That's a beautiful touch, and this sign's going to be very nice. So to all the council, Councilwoman Brannigan, Councilwoman Black, and Councilman DeNapolis, this is good that you can top it off with a beautiful sign. Thank you.
Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
One more. Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15G is Summary Ordinance Number 11,471, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Direct Source Home Renovation LLC in the amount of $20,000 to furnish and install bleacher covers at Wentwood Playground in accordance with seal bid number 12-6112 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilman DeNapolis, second by Councilman Black. Councilman DeNapolis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, once again, we always talk about improving our recreational playgrounds and its facilities, and actually the experience that you have on the playground. And I want to thank Mr. Ken Maricoli, our director. We sat down several months ago and talked about, I guess, modernizing and updating the viewing bleacher stands that we have at the playgrounds in District 5. And if you travel across the country, you'll see that a lot of the facilities are not using sheet metal awnings or sheet metal overhangs to block the sun. They're using what we call canvases, and sail canvases. And if you look at the I guess the playground equipment that the Vineyards Church has, you'll see this huge canopy that comes over the area and shadows it. Okay, that's going to be installed first at Wentwood Playground, and Ken, if you would like to come up and talk about it. The bids actually came in surprisingly low. I mean, him and I sat there and talked about it, but the bids actually came in surprisingly low. They came in so low for Wentwood that we're actually going to be doing this also at Woodlake. And basically, these are those very colorful canvas covers. And Ken, I know you did a lot of work on it. Actually, I told you to get to work and bring it, and let's see if we can get it under budget, and you did a magnificent job on it. Thank you, Ken.
Well, thank you. Yeah, what this is going to do is it's going to remove the metal bleacher covers on the 6 sections of bleachers at Wentwood and install the canvas covers over the top. I think it'll really dress up the facility, and it'll be a welcome change to that site.
Right, and it's also going to be now that it's going to be actually the baseball dugouts. It's going to be where the parents sit in their viewing stands as well. It's going to be actually 6 different canvas coverings, and it's going to be very colorful. I mean, it's going to be blue. I don't know what color the poles we decided to go with, but maybe yellow, maybe green. I don't know, but it's going to literally look good. And I don't know, when is this? I know this has 27-day layover, but
The 17-day layover.
7-day layover, okay.
Once that is up, we'll get the contract together, do the notice to proceed, and get it moving. We're hoping to have it in before the games start for baseball this year.
Baseball, right. And then probably by then, we'll probably have the pricing for Woodlake as well, and
Correct.
we'll probably do that after the baseball season so we don't disrupt what's going on out there. Thank you very much, Ken. Good work. Great idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman DeNapolis. Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And when Mr. Maricoli is finished speaking, I had just a couple of questions for clarification. So what's being done is Mr. Maricoli, the covering for the bleachers where the fans sit is being replaced with another type of covering.
Correct.
That's lighter and less abrasive from the sun to get rays and stuff like that.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that will look nice. I will have to pass by and take a look at that. And this is also will be over the play lot type
No,
stuff?
basically, for this bid is all over the bleacher areas only, the six bleacher areas and things there. We're not at that point yet to do the ones over the tot lots or anything, at this time.
Yeah, my thing
This is the first phase. We're gonna see, make sure everything's good with it and that we're happy. I mean, we did some good research on it, and we believe it's gonna be really a quality product that we can use, and we believe that we'll be seeing a lot more of this in the future.
Yeah, well, I look forward to this, to see it once you guys get it in place. And, I like the idea of getting out and seeing different things to bring back to the city of Kenner. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman Denopolis. Is this part of 1A? Is this part of 1A also, Councilman Denopolis? Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15H is Summary Ordinance Number 11,472. An ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from New Arrow Industries Incorporated, doing business as Arrow Fence, in the amount of $9,289.20 to remove the existing wood fence, furnish and install ornamental black iron fencing, and furnish and install 5 brick columns to match existing at Rivertown parking lot in accordance with letter bid number 13-1497 for the Kenner Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15I is Summary Ordinance Number 11,476. An ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Taylor Power Systems Incorporated for a 2-year contract for preventative maintenance/service for emergency generators for the city of Kenner in an amount not to exceed $100,000 per year as per sealed bid number 12-6117 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Gonzalez, this is a maintenance and service contract for our 49 generators, correct?
That's correct.
And I know several of us had questions. I think we talked to most of you guys in the administration. Explain to us what the contract involves, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions after that.
The contract contains 5 bid items. One of them is for major inspections and testing of all 49 generators, and another one is for minor inspection and testing of 49 generators. Both of those bid items were bid on a lump sum basis, inclusive transportation. So the bid amount included transportation. The other 3 items pertain to repair-related services as necessary and only with prior permission from Public Works. Those items were bid on an hourly basis for a licensed electrician, a certified mechanic, and a laborer.
Right, and one of the questions I had, most of us are always talking shop Kenner first, and it's just so happened in this bid process that the second place bidder came in at $87 cheaper than $87 cheaper than the second place bidder. So by state law, we have to accept the lowest bid. So several of us started looking around in this bid because the last 3 items you talked about, the licensed electrician, certified mechanic, and the laborer, we wanted to know whether you could bill for mileage, and that was included in the bid, as you said today, so they can't bill extra for that. But then you have to find out whether they can bill their time from the point of origin to the site, and then from the site on. And you all had checked with Taylor Industries, and we wanted to make sure to put something in here that they could not start their billing period until they reach the job site. And it's your understanding they understand that, correct?
That's correct. Actually, if you look at the technical specs, it clearly defines that transportation fees will be part of the hourly rate.
Right.
Okay, but in an abundance of caution, I think the administration is going to do an amendment that is going to really clear it up. But the technical specs address that transportation was to be part of the hourly rate.
Right, and I thought that was clear. I'm going to do the amendment. I thought that was clear, but the other portion was not as clear as to when they could start billing the hourly fee. And I think you're right, out of an abundance of caution, and they already know it, so they have knowledge now that we're going to make sure inside this ordinance and inside the contract that we're going to make sure. And I'd like to read what we'd like to put in. And we're doing this because we want to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck for the taxpayers of Kenner. It really, we would like a Kenner firm, but they didn't come in as the lowest bid. And it was close enough that sometimes you can have maybe a 10% difference under the state law, because we know that dollar spent locally, if we're paying somebody locally, they're going to spend it. It's going to be a multiplier, and we're going to gain more money. But this was not a product. This was not anything manufactured. This is this is just service. So we can't even invoke that portion of the state law that talks about Louisiana products, right?
That's my understanding, but I'll refer to our legal attorney.
No, you're correct. That preference is only allowed for a product that's manufactured. It's not as to a vendor or to a company.
And Mr. Conley, it might have been 2 years ago, maybe a little less than that. When did I ask? I had asked the administration to look at, I wanted to try to do a local preference for Kenner. And I asked them to do the research on it, and what did you find?
You can't have a local preference that's not listed in a statute. It's not done statutorily.
Right.
You can't even devise bid specs that would steer work to a local business as in the city of Kenner.
Yeah, you know, and what came back is we would essentially be subverting state law.
Correct.
So we could not do that. It breaks my heart that a company in Mississippi would get this, but it was a sealed bid. They have the lowest bid. All the pricing is included within the lump sum bid forms that were sent in. So out of an abundance of caution, I'd like to go ahead and put an amendment on the floor that add a section 3, we all have a copy of this, that says that all pricing, including those items billed on an hourly rate basis, includes applicable travel expenses. And then section 4, that billing for services performed on an hourly rate basis shall begin upon arrival at the designated job site. And I think that satisfies all of our concerns of the general public that we've gotten, and with the administration.
We have an amendment on the floor by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilman DeFrancis, to amend. Do you have that verbiage, Council Clerk? Please vote on the amendment, or does anyone wish to speak on the amendment? Identify yourself.
Jack Zewe, 3221 Illinois in Kenner. I think the thing that makes the public bid law difficult is we're consistently inconsistent with interpretation of what it means.
Okay, are you speaking?
Oh, yes, I'm speaking. I'm going to explain just what I just said. There were 3 technical requirements in the bid specification. One is a state contractor's license, the second is an occupational license, and the third is a licensed electrician within the city of Kenner. Both firms failed on 2 of the 3. In my opinion, the bid should have been thrown out for both firms. So we take parts of the law and we ignore it, but when it's convenient, we accept it. You can't have it both ways. They're $87 cheap, I agree. We're totally ignoring response time. The Kenner Police Department today informs me they don't take lightly when that generator doesn't run and there's no power with prisoners in that jail. That happened last year. We're totally ignoring response time. Last year, we had a violation with LADQ at wastewater plant 3 when a generator failed to work. We're totally ignoring environmental concerns when there's no power. It's not just price that factors into public bid law. It's quality of service. And we can ignore it. The deal is done. The vendor has been notified. The contract's going to be cut. The council's going to vote. That's all fine. but the record will show I oppose this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ziwi.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 41 years. If this is all correct what Mr. Ziwi is saying, I don't think we should take a vote on this to accept, to enter into this contract. I think we should defer this until we get more information and make sure that we are in compliance with the public bid laws. So I recommend that we defer this until we get the proper information and confirm the information that Mr. Ziwi is aware of.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morello. I have a number of lights that are lit. Do you wish to speak on the amendment, any of these lights? Councilman Carroll, Councilman Reno, I'm going to give you the floor.
I'll wait and close.
You're
on
going to
the
close, I understand. Councilman Reno, you have the floor on the amendment.
Thank you. I have a question. Can you, maybe a rookie question, but I'm gonna still ask it. Can you amend a contract, a sealed bid contract? We're amending a contract. We're changing.
Technically, we're not amending it. This is what the bid specs set out. We are just making it clear and more transparent that this was our intentions. Mr. Gonzalez, he created the bid specs. If there's any question, you go to the intent of the person that created the bid specs. That was the intention all along from the several meetings we've had in reference to this bid. So what we're doing is fleshing it out to answer any questions, and in case there was any ambiguity, that that's what these amendments are doing to this piece of legislation. There's no question in my mind that that was the intent of the bid, and that was the intent of the respondent. And we spoke with the respondent today, and that was his intent when he responded. So we're not amending any bid specs or any bid. We're following what the intention of the bid specs were. The amendments are to flesh it out and make it more transparent.
So if we're not amending it, then they have to follow the bid, the sealed bid that they turned in. So if they do bill us from their shop to our site,
They would not get paid. All invoices have to be approved by Mr. Gonzalez, and I can assure you, Mr. Gonzalez reviews every invoice, and they're not going to get paid for anything they're not entitled to.
Furthermore, this would apply to repair-related services, only as necessary and with a prior notice to proceed from Public Works. Without a public note, without a notice to proceed, they will not be able to do any work. And every one of those notices to proceed, I'm going to make sure that they fully understand that services are going to start when they reach their destination.
okay, thank you.
Ms. Black.
Mr. Quigley, did you wish to have the floor?
Yeah, I'd like to also comment. There was a comment about the quality of the work. First of all, Taylor, that the company that we have that has had a contract with the city that previously were named Carson. I know Jerry Dillenkoffer worked extensively with them. We've never had an issue with them. Matter of fact, on Isaac, they were here. They stayed overnight. They were here. Jerry can vouch for the fact that this is not a new company that we're unaware of. The quality of their work is not in question here, or their ability to be able to respond. Furthermore, there's a representative of Taylor here right now. I actually showed him what we intend to, amend the ordinance. He said, well, that's how we bid it anyway. So he has absolutely no problem. So he's here right now, Mr. Clyde Chauvin. He's seen it, he has no problem whatsoever. And again, Jerry can verify that we have no issues with them. They're able to respond immediately. So that is not an issue. And in terms of licenses, Mr. Chauvin has given us all the electrical licenses. So there's absolutely no concerns in regard to licensing at all. So the thought that we have to cancel this bid or we have any second doubts about it is not the case. We strongly recommend that we approve the ordinance. But however, we will say we agree. We wish that Kenner businesses would be able to get preferences, and that we that would be able to help Kenner businesses, but we also have to follow state bid law, and, you know, we following the law in every aspect of it.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley. Is there any other persons? Oh, Mr. Stagney, did you wish to close on this amendment? You have the floor.
Mr. Conley, under the state bid law, we cannot account for the time to get from one destination to another, can we? When we have a sealed bid that comes in and we're doing it based on a unit price, we can't subjectively just say that time from one place to the other could cause us to throw the bid out.
No, I believe that's why Mr. Gonzalez made sure that the bid specs were inclusive of any kind of travel time, and that you can't charge for mileage, so.
Right.
I don't think it was an issue in this.
And this is not any change whatsoever, according to the administration, as to what they wanted in the original bid specs. However, there was some questions on the hourly rate and when that time would start, and I think we just are clearly fleshing that out. And Mr. Chauvin is here. He's agreed to it. He's the lowest bid. Look, I always like to give it to a Kenner firm, but when you do a sealed bid, one thing that's good is you have a competitive process and you should get better pricing, but it might not go to a local company. So those things happen, and this is one of those situations. By and large, when this government and the parish have bid out contracts, we've gotten much better deals for the taxpayers of our city. So I'd ask for the support on the amendment. It simply just lays down the language we need that that we won't that the taxpayers won't be charged any more than we were told they were going to be charged. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Does anyone else want to speak on the amendment? I know that Mr. Stagney wished to close, but I noticed that Mr. Dinopoulos said he had something. Do you want to wait until after that comes up for the final vote, Mr. Dinopoulos? Okay. Hearing no other discussion on the amendment, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0 on the amendment.
Okay. On the legislation, Councilman Dinopoulos.
Couple of questions here. Maybe, Mr. Gonzalez, where in the bid does it say that the hourly rates are to commence at job site?
It does not say that, but it does say that the fees for transportation are inclusive in the bid amount for the respective items of work.
Okay, fees for transportation, but not, that's one separate charge, but not the charge for an hourly rate for him to drive an hour, hour and a half to Kenner, or whatever distance it is.
That's transportation, in my opinion.
Okay, that's why we have a Section 3 and a Section 4 being submitted. You said this company had the contract prior, last year, correct?
They've been having the contract, I think, for the last 3 years.
And how were we billed over the last 3 years? Were we billed from point of destination from their company to Kenner, or were they billed at job site for those last 3 years?
Over the last 3 years, they did have a transportation fee of $2.50 a mile. But
How much a
under
mile?
this new contract, there is no transportation fee.
But understand, transportation fee is one thing, and an hourly rate. I mean, one thing is I'm not going to charge you for my gas in my car to get to your location. However, I am going to charge for this electrician to be there at $75 an hour. I understand it as two separate things, and you're telling me it's not. And that's why Councilman Stagney has it on here as a Section 3 and a Section 4. And if this is something that has transpired over the last 3 years, we're assuming that it just all of a sudden just changes and go away on this bid. I don't think it's clear enough on this bid. I'm not comfortable with this, guys. I'm
Councilman,
sorry.
the new specs were different. There's no transportation fee in the new specs.
No, but there's two different fees that arrive in these type of contracts. Number one is the transportation fee. That's for the vehicle per mile to get to your location. And there's a fee for the hourly rate that he sits in the car and does no work to get there. That's why there's two sections in this thing that's being added. I'm very uncomfortable about it, guys. I'm just sorry. I just have to make mention of it. That's all.
Kent, this is a bid. This is not, previously, it was not done by a bid. This is a bid. This is the bid.
And
form.
I commend you
and
guys
it
for bidding
says-
it. I really do.
It's very clear. And the amendment makes it even clearer. So there's no doubt. Well, first of all, the two major items in this whole thing are lump sum. So there's no even issue in terms of the lump sum. The hourly rates for the licensed electrician, certified mechanic, and laborer are the hourly rate for them to perform work, not drive anywhere. It's not in the specs. It's not going to be paid. I mean, it's very clear. I mean, there's no doubt.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Quigley, let me just ask, the travel, transportation, was it ever included in the bid? Was it ever in the specs?
No.
To bid on?
No.
And that seems to be the problem here, because when I first heard about this, of course, we wanted to give this, we would have, in all due respect to Mr. Taylor, we wanted to give it to a Kenner firm. And especially when it was $87, the bid was only $87 difference. I did a lot of research. I called the state bid offices in state. I spoke to some people in Jefferson Parish because I thought possibly the city would be able to give them some sort of, we had something in the past, in years that we've been with the council, that we had given them a percentage, a discount to Kenner residents, but I'm told that was not something that was done by legislation, so that wasn't the fact. The problem comes in that the second bidder bid the transportation in their bid.
No, they didn't.
I'm told that they did. That's not true?
No. No.
Okay, so the $87, I'm told, was the transportation fee that they also bid on.
That is absolutely false.
Well, then, that's all the more reason why we have to go with the lowest bidder.
Correct.
We cannot, by state law, if this was an RFP, a request for proposal, would be able to do something, we'd be able to reconsider. But when you have a bid come in, that's why they have sealed bids. Nobody knows what you're going to bid on or how much you're going to bid, and it's up to the contractors to bid it according to what they feel that they can do the job for. So it's unfortunate that it was only $87, and it's unfortunate that we have the second bidder is a local firm that everybody would love to see get the job, but I think we have a physical responsibility here to abide by the state bid laws and all the bid laws, and we cannot favor one over the other, because then you're facing libel by that company who was the low bidder. And I've seen those companies come back that would not award the contract and file suit. So we have to go by the right the bid laws, and as much as we would like to do with the city for the Kenner Corporation, we cannot, because it would be illegal, and we are duly sworn to do the proper thing up here. So with that, I'm going to, Mr. Dinopoulos, you spoke only on the amendment, is that right? Or did you speak already? Okay, because your name is still, I'll clear it. Okay. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Excuse me. And I'm glad we had this conversation, especially the council, because it does give confidence to the people who live in Kenner and businesses that live in the city of Kenner that we do take exception to trying to get people who have businesses in the city of Kenner first. Because we would be hypocrites to sit up here and to promote placards and acts and telling people shop Kenner first if we did not try to follow that. So that's the first thing I'm glad that we were able to show. But like Councilwoman Black said, this was a bid. There are certain laws that we have to submit to. And we are submitting to the laws that we are required to do. But I also would like to thank Mr. Ziwi for coming up and bringing to our attention a couple of things. One, because without that, we probably would not have made the amendment to ensure that what has happened a couple of years ago won't be happening this year. That's fantastic. So we, the citizens, win overall again. Also, there was a question of the state license. Again, thank Mr. Ziwi, but that's been resolved because there is a state license by Mr. Taylor and his company. So all of these things, the transparency that we questioned earlier, have been ironed out. I even so, as far as the businesses in Kenner, the individual who came in second is from District 1. That may be a little territorial, but he is from District 1. So, you know, all of these things that took place, we explained them. We are not breaking any laws. We are going by the proper bid laws. We have solved the question about the mileage. We have answered the question about the licensing. I think we have done as much as we can as council members to ensure that we are following the laws. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Councilman Reno. Excuse me. Councilman Reno. Chairman.
Oh, no, sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one last question. We've had a maintenance contract on these generators before, and our current maintenance contract expired when?
I think it expired around September of last year.
Okay, and when the maintenance is done, how often?
The major inspection and testing is once per year.
Okay.
And the minor is also once per year, 6 months after the major inspection.
Okay. That's all I need to know. Thank you very much.
Councilman Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President.
Are you closing, Councilman
Yes, I'm going to
Stagney?
close. What triggered this was, and Councilman DeNapolis brought up a good point, was that this company has a contract with us right now, and they are billing for transportation and/or hourly fees from the time that they may have left where they're from. So to Mr. Gonzalez's credit, he tried to form the bid specs so that we would get a better price. And the only thing that was unclear was that hourly rate, and now the vendor understands it, we understand it, and we've made sure as a good oversight body that our taxpayers are going to be well served, because we're not going to be billed if they have to come from their place in Mississippi. So I think we've, Mr. Gonzalez, did you want to say something?
The only thing I want to add to that, due to the fact that we have gone through a bid process, okay, not only have we eliminated the so-called transportation fee, but the hourly rates bid are much lower than what we were paying, you know, over the last 3 years.
Right. No, and that's what we talked about earlier, about competition giving us a better price for what we're ordering. So I think we've done a good job of looking at this, and I appreciate the administration, the council, and those who are out there looking at what we're doing as a body for bringing this information to us. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15J is Summary Ordinance Number 11,477, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of State Contract Number 408667 to purchase various types of ammunition from Barney's Incorporated, Barney's Firearms, on an as-needed basis not to exceed $15,000 per year for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilwoman DeFrancis. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15K is Summary Ordinance Number 11,478, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of one 8-tier legal starter unit and associated add-on unit, rollout drawers, and standard shelves from Gulf South Business Systems and Consultants Incorporated in the amount of $6,348.38 under State Contract Number 408898 for the Kenner Police Department.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilman Stagney. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 15L is Summary Ordinance Number 11,479, an ordinance authorizing the administration to utilize the existing bid with Jefferson Parish Department of Public Works, Surge with BLD Services, LLC, as per proposal number 50-100666 for preventive maintenance of existing sanitary and storm sewers, including service laterals, on an as-needed basis not to exceed $2 million annually for a period concurrent with Jefferson Parish contract for the City of Kenner Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
I've been called worse.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-1. Councilmember Black is absent. 6-0, I'm sorry. Item 15M is Summary Ordinance Number 11,480, an ordinance ratifying an engineering agreement with Hartman Engineering Incorporated, consultant for professional engineering services associated with the design and construction, administration of subsurface drainage, improvements in the University City and Audubon Place subdivision area, Phase 1 and 2, at a total cost of $219,052 for Council District Number 5.
Motion by Councilman DeNapoli, second by Councilman Reno. Councilman DeNapoli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we have the digital
Yes.
put up on the board at this time?
There you go.
Okay, here we go. District 5, major drainage improvements that we have going on in the University City subdivision. This is that project in which Mr. Jose Gonzalez and myself collaborated in and actually putting in a bid to get DOT funds to do drainage projects in District 5. And of course, Mr. Gonzalez twisted my arm, you know, hit me over the head with a bat and made me come up with about $50,000 in monies to actually put the engineering together to actually make a very professional, concise presentation to DOTD. He said that, you know, if we do this, we have a great chance. And yes, we were gambling a little bit. We had a great chance of getting this project. And I want to thank Mr. Gonzalez because we did get the project, almost $3.5 million, I think, total, but in drainage improvements for District 5. And I can tell you, great job, Mr. Gonzalez, in actually having the foresight to go after this project. However, I can tell you there's also some really good things about this. Hartman Engineering Company was the engineering company, along with HSMM Engineering, to actually joint venture into bringing this project as far as all the engineering work in it. And I can tell you, no two better companies are qualified to do this kind of work. I mean, and actually Manish is in the audience right now, and if Manish, you want to say a few things at the podium, you're more than welcome to do that. Basically, if you look at the legend, you have a Phase 1, and you have a Phase 2 and a Phase 3. It's probably going to take about 3 years to put this type of money into the ground. However, Phase 1 will be somewhat constructed probably towards the end of this year. I know Mr. Manish had promised me probably some more detailed information in about 60 days. I'm definitely going to hold his feet to the fire on that. But basically, this affects about 375 homeowners in District 5. We have major flooding problems in these sections of Audubon and University City. I have been, and I knew that if we got these type of federal grant matches, we would have to come up with 10%. And I can tell you that we have the 10% to match for the entire $303 million worth of projects. Phase 1 is going to begin, and maybe Manish, you kind of walk us through what's going to happen in that area.
Mr. Mardia, but just for the record, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Manish Mardia, 232 Cane Bayou, Kenner. As Councilman suggested that this is collaboration between the administration and council. This is highly competitive bids, hundreds of different municipalities throughout the state put together. And as you know, the limited funding with the state, it was a great success. We were able to put a very good report, modeling report with cost and benefit. The total money that DOTD approved is $3 million. And they are going to obligate that in phases. So the first phase, Phase 1, which you can see in the map, it consists of 2 areas. The first area we're looking at is Gallen Drive, Hooper Drive, McGuire and Outfall Canal on Millsap Place. The first area has a significant drainage problem. We have a lot of pictures with the flooding situation. The citizen has a complaint. So we're going to install a new drainage system with new inlets that's gonna significantly benefit the drainage situation there. Another part of phase one is the outfall pipe. We're increasing the size of outfall pipe. There's a lot of ponding and standing water issues. And as Councilman says, on expedited schedule, we hope to bid this job somewhere in the middle of this year. And we're moving along pretty good. And I also like to thank Councilman for his trust in our ability to solve drainage problem. I have 20 years of experience working in the city of Kenner. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, several of us, when we first were elected to office in 2006, Mr. Mardia came and met with us and showed us some drainage maps on where we needed improvement. And, you know, it scared some of us so much, we almost wish we didn't get elected, because I think in District 2 there was 33 million, maybe 13 million critical. But he took time, and he did that on his own time through some drainage mapping that was done prior to us getting here. And you said earlier about it being a very competitive bid process. Let me tell you, it was more competitive behind the scenes between Districts 5, 2, and 1, because, you know, we all had flooding problems,
Yes.
but there was so much demonstrable flooding with damage in District 5 that Mr. DeNapolis won out, but it was the citizens in that area that are finally going to win out, because they have flooded so many times. So we appreciate all your hard work, and again, to Mr. DeNapolis, who worked very hard and put up the money to get this done. Congratulations to him as well.
Thank you.
And I know Mr. Quigley whispered in my ear, but this is actually a win-win, very good a win-win situation with Kenner, because both engineering companies. I know Mr. Manish lives in my district. He actually lives in South Lake Villages and actually has probably traveled through some of the flooding at some time or not. And then also Hartman Engineering, which is also located in the city of Kenner. So we have not only two companies that are located in the city of Kenner, but people actually that live in Kenner and know exactly our needs. And I can tell you, you're right, Councilman Stagney, Mr. Manish. His company, along with our Hartman Engineering, really wrote the book on drainage in Kenner, and I actually have a copy. And I was introduced to that copy when I first took office, and it's about this thick. It's about a 3.5, 4-inch binder full of maps and full of where we have problems and things. And you're right, you know, it's a lot of money, and you don't see much improvements because it's, once again, the public, it's all below ground. I mean, there is going to be some construction and some issues in the area when we go to do all this upearthing and redoing some of this piping, but once again, look at the housing it's going to affect. Look at the areas it's going to improve. Sure. And this is all about quality of life here in Kenner. And I'm telling you, and you're right, Jose, and if you want to say something about this, Mr. Gonzalez, go right ahead. But when Jose and I talked about this, your name was one of the ones that came up to go ahead and present this to DODT and get this done because of what you and Hartman Engineering have done for the city of Kenner. Nobody is more qualified. Period, exclamation point. We are on target with the right company and the right projects.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mardia. Mr. DeNapolis, anyone else? Okay, let's vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Councilmember Black is absent. Item 15N is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 1, final, to the contract with Stripe A Zone for the Kenner Railroad pavement markings in the additive amount of $10,015.18 as an overall additive to the contract amount of $62,267.67, resulting in a total contract amount of $72,282.85, and authorizing the mayor to accept the contract as complete for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to temper my comments until the next council meeting because there's another first reading on this. Only to say Councilwoman Black isn't here, but I'll save it also for then. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, do you
President.
wish? Please state your name and address for the record.
Right. Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. Mr. President, if I heard Mr. Carroll correctly, I think he said he was going to move to defer this. Did I hear that correctly? Oh, Mr. President, I want to point out that this item, as well as items 18D and 18E, and also 13E, which you've already taken up, never got posted on the city's bulletin board as required by law. They do not appear on the agenda that is online. I checked it again just before leaving to come here. Nothing on the supplemental agenda appears on the agenda that's online or that's posted on the bulletin board. And that violates the open meetings law, which requires that the full agenda be posted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. I would suggest the council might want to defer each of these actions or each of these items until the next meeting so as to be in compliance. And as far as item 13E, which you took up before I got here, you might want to consider reconsidering that and then also deferring it. But I think that if you take action on these, you would be violating the open meetings law because they were not posted. Anybody have any questions for me?
Councilman Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. What were those items again, Mr. Brown?
Mr. Stagney, it's everything that was on the supplemental agenda, 13E, which the council has already taken up, and then 15N, which is the item you're on now, and then also 16D and 16E, which are both ordinances for first reading. None of these appear on the agenda that's online, nor on the agenda that's posted on the bulletin board as the law requires.
I'm going to ask Mr. Conley if he'll comment. I'd like to, I don't know
I
if the
think
clerk
right
can
now-
access the
I
website.
think right now they're verifying whether they posted it or not, so I can't answer it until they, certainly out of abundance of caution, I would agree to defer it all until
Well,
it's posted properly. But
Why don't we see if it's on the website? I hate to defer it if we
even if it's
posted it.
posted on a building, it's fine. That's what they're discussing right now, so.
If we have to, Madam President, we can always bring back up the one we passed, 13E, later on in the meeting, and then put it back on the floor and then do a deferral. And if we want to move on now while they're researching it, you can...
Madam Chairman, I'm being advised that it was inadvertently not posted on the building, and it was not put on the internet. It was put on the internet yesterday, but then it was taken back off today, so we may have to take further action. I apologize. I was not here, so it was inadvertently not posted on the building or on the internet.
So we're going to do a deferral on this? So what is the wish of the council?
I believe that, if I'm correct, Mr. City Attorney, we will have to defer the items till the next meeting. Am I correct?
That's what I would recommend out of abundance of caution. If there's any question as to the open meetings laws, I would suggest that we defer them. And the clerk has said they were not posted, and they were not put on the internet, and were they published in a...
Were put on the internet in full yesterday, but I took the full version off today, and when I went to put just the cover sheets back on, I guess I didn't save the changes, and I didn't put it back on as just the cover sheets, showing that they were put on via the supplemental agenda. So.
I would recommend deferring it.
Let me, in regard to 13E, there's a March 1st deadline for the, if we don't have this support, we will not be able to apply
Chairman,
for the
can-
Rivertown Arts and Cultural District.
Madam Chairman, may I suggest that the item be voted on to be, the agenda be amended from the floor for the items, and if you have a unanimous vote this evening, then we can take up the matter. Am I correct, Mr.
Right,
Attorney?
in particular 13A, yeah.
So we're going to reconsider, do we go under reconsideration for the 13E and then revote on that?
I think we would put it on the floor, we would reconsider it at that moment, then we would amend the agenda to include the item by unanimous vote, as long as we hear any public opinion, we put the item back on the agenda through the floor, and then we revote on it again. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Certain people out there, they must not get any sleep, huh? Do y'all ever go to sleep? Councilman Carroll, I'm going to give you the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And you know, before anyone starts to give blame or take blame, this particular one, like Mr. Quigley said, is the Rivertown, the historical part. That's very important. I guess I'm partly to blame also because this was something that I needed to get in place. I had to contact some of the Rivertown Advisory Committee to let them know that was going on. So I pushed the clerk office to the last minute to try to get this on. So if anybody could be held partly responsible, it could be me for being lapsed and getting it in a timely manner. But it was so important. There was some information. We had to be clear with planning. We had to be clear with Judge Centani, with the Rivertown Advisory Committee, with all of these people, just to make sure, and we wanted to err on the side of caution. So to be able to, this one is really important that we get it done today, like Mr. Quigley said. The other one for the railroad contract with ODT, that one would not hurt if we pushed it back because it is only a modification. The work is actually done. And if we pushed it back to the next meeting, like Mr. Connolly said, let's do what's the right thing to do. And it won't hurt anything if we do both of them. So I just wanted to put that out there before anybody start blaming anyone. You know, I should have been quicker with it. We should have been quicker with it, and I should have been also. But that happens sometimes. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree, but I do like we adhere to state law if you were to take 15N, 16D, and 16E and reintroduce them from the floor, not in global, I'd do each one and get a vote on it. But if you reintroduce it from the floor, that's the normal procedure if we had something new come before us. So you would still adhere to all parts of state law, get it on. 2 of those 3 would actually just be a first reading to the next meeting.
Yeah, those 2 have to get on also. So.
Right. So 15N would be the only one, and we've just heard that, you know, we can bring it from the floor and then defer that one to the next meeting.
Okay, so let me clarify. On item 15N, do we have a one-meeting deferral on this item on 15N? Are you going to bring it back up from the floor?
Councilman DeFrancis has her light on. Did you wish to discuss?
They'll have a chance to come up and object.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that we're going to vote individually on each one that we, as a council, all 7 of us, because you have to be unanimous, are willing to bring each and every item from the floor. So we're going to have to take 3 separate votes. I just talked to our Council President to make sure that we follow procedure, and that's the way am I correct, Council
Right,
President? We're going to do it. Okay, great.
Councilman Denopoulos, I'm allowing you guys to speak. I know you've all spoken before, but this is unusual circumstances. So go ahead, Councilman Denopoulos.
No, I haven't spoken on it, Madam Chair. I just question, do we need to take these items and move them in Section 19 on the agenda and then dispose of them at that point and then bring them up?
Yes, I will bring them up
On Section 19?
on items, unfinished business, and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position.
Okay, I'm just
We will
understanding the procedure.
reconsider the items.
Thank you.
Okay, Council Clerk.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor for 15N. You want to just remove it? Okay, if we would just remove motion by Councilmember Carroll and second by Councilmember Brannigan on this motion, and then I'm going to proceed to first readings, and then we'll, okay. At this time, though, instead of reading the first readings, I'm going to go ahead and entertain some motions to amend the agenda from the floor this evening before I do first reading, so we can put those 2 items that are in summary on the agenda before I read the items in summary. So at this time, I've received a request to amend the agenda to include item 13E, which is a resolution in support of an application for the creation of the Rivertown Arts and Cultural District. I'll need a motion and a second to suspend your rules.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman DeFrancis, to suspend the council rules. Please vote.
Your motion's going to pass 6-0. Councilmember Brannigan is absent, and this is to suspend your council rules to
Correct.
add 13E.
Now we go back to 13E.
Yes, I'm going to entertain a motion at this time to include item 13E on the agenda.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney. Just a moment.
I'm sorry, Madam President, just a point of clarification. We wanted to amend the agenda. Once we did the amendment of what we wanted to do, we need to open up the floor, so if the public, they have a right to speak on it, and then we vote on it.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney.
So in this motion, you would just simply ask for the public, if anybody opposes.
Please vote. Oh, you didn't include it?
Yeah. For your second motion, you just simply ask if anybody would object to the motion item being put on the agenda.
I apologize, but I had to leave the meeting on emergency in my home, so I missed some of the discussions, so
Okay.
please
You have a
persevere
motion by
with it.
Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Stagney. If anyone in the audience wishes to object to the item being put on the agenda, please come forward now. Hearing no objections, please vote on adding item 13E to the agenda. Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Councilmember Brannigan is absent. At this time, Madam Chairman, I've also received a request to amend the agenda this evening to include item 15N, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 1, final, to the contract with Stripe Zone for the Kenner Railroad pavement markings and the additive amount of $10,015.18 as an overall additive to the contract amount of $62,267.67, resulting in a total contract amount of $72,282.85, and authorizing the mayor to accept the contract as complete for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney.
That would be to suspend your rules.
Suspend the council rules.
To add item 15N.
That's correct. Does anyone have any objections?
No,
That's
that
being
would be
put on-
next. That's your next motion. Please vote on just suspending your rules. Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Councilmember Brannigan is not here.
Did you wish to address the council?
Yes, ma'am.
At this, he has to wait just 1 second, please. I need a motion.
You have to put it on the floor first.
Yes, please. A motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Stagney, to add item 15N to the agenda this evening. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council, please come forward, please.
Ready, Madam Chairman?
Your name and address, please.
Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. I did not object to 13E because I understand that's some exigent circumstances, and it could cause a problem if it was not voted on tonight. But I'm generally opposed to adding items to the agenda at the council meeting unless there's a true emergency. And I understand this happened because of an oversight. I don't think anybody was trying to slip anything by or, onto the public. But I think that 15N, from what I understand, is not an emergency, and it won't do any harm to delay that. And I think if you just take all of these items that were omitted from the agenda and add them tonight, that really defeats the purpose of the open meetings law. Unless there is really some exigent reason for having to take this item up tonight, I would prefer that it be deferred until the next meeting. That's it.
Thank you. Would you like to address the council?
Do you need to address why it needs to come up tonight?
While they're deciphering all of this, Mr. Brown, I have something I want to say to you. When you know that something like this has happened, and obviously you knew well in advance that this was going to occur, would you kindly call the council president and let us know until, rather than waiting till the nth hour like this and having to present all this confusion? I know that you're a stickler for the Robert's Rules of Order, and I know that you know what you're talking about, but it would have greatly helped us if you had come before us before this meeting began, since you obviously knew this, and you could have helped us resolve a lot of problems that we're having tonight in regards to sounding professional and knowing what's going on at this meeting. So I do want to tell you that in the future, if you have any information that you can give us prior to the meeting beginning and causing all of this turmoil, I would appreciate it if you would do that. It's a little bit frustrating up here to know that this, because a lot of us up here did not know this was taking place, and for this to spring up at the last minute when it could have been resolved earlier, we really would appreciate it.
Madam Chairman, I'll be happy to, but I did not know until about 1 hour ago that these items had not been posted. I did not know that until I got here. I did not know that they weren't online until just before I left the house, when I checked to look for something else on the agenda. And I was lucky that I had a copy of the supplemental agenda. Most people don't get that. I happened to have the supplemental agenda while I was at it, just before leaving the house, well, maybe 20 minutes before leaving the house. I just decided, well, let's check and see if these items, actually I was looking to see if they were marked as supplemental, because if you recall at the last meeting, I was concerned that they weren't marked as being supplemental.
Okay.
I was surprised to see they weren't even on there. Madam President, I did not know they weren't on there until maybe an hour ago, and I didn't know they weren't posted until I got here for the meeting, after the meeting was well underway. But I'll be happy to call you next time I notice something like this.
I appreciate it. It does, it was an honest mistake that anybody can make, and it's caused us a little embarrassment. I know this council is embarrassed that we had to go through all of this. In all the years I've been, this has never happened before. So it's not due to incompetence, it was an oversight, and so I thank you. So we'll proceed.
I believe that, I know that.
Okay, we'll proceed now.
I believe Mr. Jose Gonzalez was going to explain why the urgency is that we need this item on the agenda this evening, sir.
Item 15N is the final change order for a project that has been completed already. And what we're doing is not only doing the change order, we're accepting the project, and this will allow us to be able to expedite payment to the contractor.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Carroll. Councilman Carroll has the floor. Thank you, Mr. Jose Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam President. And Mr. Gonzalez, and I stated earlier that I did not believe it would cause great of a problem if, for the sake of being correct about the laws, and I thank Mr. Brown for bringing it to our attention, that if we did defer the meeting, that it would not cause that much of a problem. Was I wrong for stating that? Can we wait another meeting, or is this, as far as it relates to making the payment to the contractor, whatever, is that going to cause a serious?
From a contractor's point of view, yes. The fact that we're going to delay his payment, it may be problematic for that contractor, but it's not an emergency type item.
Mm-hmm.
But by not doing this right now, it will prevent payment.
Right, because obviously, depending on the size of the contractor, everybody has payrolls to make, and this is a payment not being made. They're not able to make payroll to the people that work with them. So I would never want to do that, not knowing who they are, what the situation is. If Mr. Gonzalez believed that we should proceed with this, then I would obviously take your expert opinion. If not, if you think we can, then we can. But I would, if you believe so, we should act on it now, then
Well,
please, by all means.
I have no problems with, as long as we're following the law, I have no problems with saying, yes, I think we should do it right now. The work has been completed, okay? The contractor has been calling our office, okay, simply because they would like to get paid.
Right, okay. And Mr. Brown, you asked if there were any extenuating reasons why. I think this is, as it relates to payment for the contractor. Would you have a big problem if we expedited this tonight in the order that we thought, that we tried to do in the beginning?
No, I don't, Mr. Carroll. I understand this was an oversight, and I've already said I don't think anybody was trying to pull anything. I think it was an oversight, but I wanted to point out it was a violation of the open meetings law, and out of an abundance of caution, it would have been better just to
I
defer
understand.
these
And
things.
I'll say thank you for the information. We appreciate that. So
Thank you.
I would ask the support for us to go forward with this.
I would-
15 in.
I would agree with you. In light of that, would everybody please vote?
It's going to be to vote to add the item this evening, please.
Add item 15A in, and then we have to approve it.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Councilmember Brannigan is absent.
A motion by Councilman
Yeah,
Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney to approve.
Actually, Madam Chairman, let me clarify real quick. We have two more items. I received a request to add item 16D to the agenda this evening for first reading, which is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Sport Court of Arkansas in the amount of $354,017.70 to replace gymnasium flooring at various sites in accordance with seal bid number 13-6120 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. I need a motion to suspend your rules, please.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney to suspend council rules. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to suspend your rules to add item 16D. At this time, I need a motion and a second to add the item to the agenda, please.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilwoman DeFrancis to add it to the agenda.
If there's anyone in the public wishing to object to the item being added to the agenda, please come forward, please.
Please vote.
One more vote, please. Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to add item 16D to the agenda this evening. Madam Chairman, we've also received a request to add item 16E to the agenda, which is an ordinance amending the capital budget to budget grant funds to be received from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for the Kenner Railroad pavement marking safety improvements under state project number H009772, state control section number 000-26, in the amount of $72,282.85 for the city of Kenner. I need a motion to suspend your rules, please.
Motion by Councilman Reno, second by Councilman Black to suspend council rules. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to suspend your rules to add item 16E. Need a motion and a second to add item 16E, please.
Motion by Councilman Reno, second by Councilwoman Black.
If there's anyone in the audience wishing to object to the item that's being added to the agenda this evening, please come forward. Hearing none, please vote. Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Councilman Brannigan is absent to add item 16E. At this time, we'll proceed to ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Quality Site Work Materials Incorporated for a 2-year contract not to exceed $100,000 per year to supply PVC pipe and fitting for the city of Kenner on an as-needed basis for the city of Kenner. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from WC Contractor Incorporated for the repair and paint of the stucco wall at Joe Yenny and Woodlake Boulevard damaged in the vehicular accident for the city of Kenner in the amount of $6,000 as per letter bid number 13-1496 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Dyna Play LLC in the amount of $24,175 to remove certain tot lot equipment and to furnish and install new equipment at the Lake Town Tot Lot in accordance with seal bid number 13-6122 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Sport Court of Arkansas in the amount of $354,017.70 to replace gymnasium flooring at various sites in accordance with seal bid number 13-6120 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16E is an ordinance amending the capital budget to budget grant funds to be received from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for the Kenner Railroad pavement marking safety improvements under state bid project number H.009772, State Control Section number 000-26 in the amount of $72,282.85 for the city of Kenner. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Any reports from the council? Anyone else besides the council president? At the last council meeting, I asked the administration to give me a revamp of, a replay of all of the things that have been, the monies about the Treasure Chest Casino. And they gave me a report today that was a little bit, I know it's accurate because I know Duke McConnell has been on top of this throughout the time, but just to let you know that I did get a report back, and for the year of 2011, I'm having problems tonight, do y'all notice? That from the year 2011 to 2012, the Treasure Chest Casino took in $94,715,544. They have to pay a certain fee to the state, which was $20 million went to the state. So their percentage rent due to City of Kenner totaled $74,351,702, which we received $743,517. What it all comes down to is we get a percentage of the $250, and of that $250, it came out to $3,398,661. So the total that was received by the city of Kenner from the treasure chest revenues was $4,885,695, which was considerably lower than we received in 2010, 2011. I have spoken to the administration, and we have had counters up there, but that were not really CPAs or professional firms. We had the security company doing the counts, and I'm told by the administration that they are going to hire a professional CPA firm that will now begin monitoring the amount of passengers that go on that boat and see if it helps in any way in getting the more money from gambling into the city of Kenner. It's a sad fact when you have to consider that, but that's a sign of our times. So I remember back when they first started in 1996, the first payment we received from the treasure chest was $8 million that came to the city. And that just goes to show you how much it has fallen off, almost half of the amount that we received back, the first payment. So we're going to still work on this, and we know and try and make sure that the city is getting the most bang for their bucks. And I thank the administration and Mr. McConnell for getting this to me, and I appreciate it. So anyone else? Councilman Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President. Last week, bipartisan legislation was introduced into the Congress to allow state and local governments to collect an estimated $23 billion in online sales taxes, thus ending the online sales tax break. This is something that not only this body and this administration, but Jefferson Parish has been talking about. The more people buy online, the less the local governmental entity is getting in taxes, and it creates a very unfair marketplace between online e-commerce and brick-and-mortar retailers. And you see that throughout the cities in this state and other states where you have a lot of vacant retail buildings that are just hurting the economy all the way around. So I commend the National League of Cities for putting pressure that Congress needs to act. Right now, it is self-reporting by people who buy online, but most people don't know that, and it's too hard to collect. So I would hope that Congress would see fit to allow the local authority some way to recoup our sales tax, because I know it's hurt this city, it's hurt this parish, and I'm certain it's hurting our state. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Councilman Carroll? You have the floor, Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a point of reference just to let everybody know, obviously last Monday, a week ago, the 11th of February, was Lundi Gras in the city of Kenner and also New Orleans, and that we've been having a tradition for over 5 years, I believe, to celebrate with the carnival organization Argus and Zulu. Once again, we were threatened with bad weather, but it prevailed, and we were able to have a nice event for the court, the lovely court, for both of the lovely courts, and the king of both organizations. I would like to thank the administration, Mayor Yenny, Ms. Donna Hahn, for all of their coordination. It kind of put a damper on the band and the music and the vendors because it started to rain, and we had no control over that. But I think all in all, the people involved, the two organizations involved, were happy with it. They will look forward to it next year. We will look forward to it next year. And I think it turned out real well. So thanks again for all of the departments that participated, that supported it. Thanks again, guys, and we really appreciate all the hard work that you do. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Mayor, you have the floor.
Just wanted to announce a couple things. On March the 3rd at 6 p.m., they'll have the grand opening of the new Castle Theater in Rivertown, which is now turning into a comedy venue.
Can I apply?
Jeannie, I tell you, you'd definitely be a hit. So you should think about it. We'll hook you up with Jody Varela. And then also next Tuesday at 7 p.m. at the Kenner City Park Pavilion, we have our first listening session as part of the 2030 strategy. All civic associations were sent out information about it, but it is open to the public. Further down the year, we'll be going into each council district. This is going to be our SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats facing the city of Kenner.
Thank you. Councilman Reno.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to remind everybody that Driftwood Park Country Club's having a fish fry tomorrow night from 6 p.m. on. It's $8 a plate. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Clerk, you can proceed.
Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position.
Yes, we do.
We have 2 items this evening, Madam Chairman. If I could, please get a motion and a second to reconsider item 13E, a resolution in support of an application for the creation of the Rivertown Arts and Cultural District.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilwoman Black. Councilman Carroll, did you wish to speak, or did you already make your wishes known?
This is on reconsideration. If we could get it on the floor.
Okay, Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Black.
Yes, and if you could just vote on reconsideration, and then we'll put the item back on the floor.
Okay. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 on reconsidering item 13E. Item 13E is a resolution in support of an application for the creation of the Rivertown Arts and Cultural District.
Motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Black. Mr. Morella, did you wish to speak, or are you just waiting?
I'm just waiting for items.
Okay, thank you. Pardon me? All right, 13E, Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Black. Any discussion? Councilman Stagney.
Thank you, Madam President, and I guess this can go to the clerk or the city attorney. This is the first 13E, so we have to dispose of this one, correct?
Well, we put it on the floor for reconsideration.
We amended the agenda and brought it back, so.
Right, but it's 2 separate pieces of legislation, even though we labeled them the same thing.
No.
It's a resolution, so I don't think it
so we don't have to, this is,
The first one is actually killed by the fact that it wasn't done properly.
okay. All right, thank you.
This is for approval.
This would be for approval of 13E.
Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Councilmember Brannigan is absent. At this time, we're going to entertain a motion for unfinished business of item 15N. Since no one voted on it, we're going to just put it back on the floor, please, for consideration. Item 15N. Give me 1 second, please. Item 15N is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 1, final, to the contract with Striper Zone for the Kenner Railroad pavement markings and the additive amount of $10,015.18 as an overall additive to the contract amount of $62,267.67, resulting in a total contract amount of $72,282.85, and authorizing the mayor to accept the contract as complete for the Department of Public Works.
Okay, motion by Councilman Carroll, second by Councilman Stagney. Hearing no discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Councilmember Brannigan is absent.
Lucky duck.
Item 20, is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Yes, ma'am, we have Mr. Al Morello.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 41 years. I want to revisit item 18A on the last meeting's agenda, February the 7th. I'm going to direct these comments to you, Councilman Stagney. Your point and your comments on that item was well taken, but your closing comments to me took an appearance that you said what you meant, but you didn't mean what you said. Now, that's the comments I have on that issue. Now we're going to go, I want to move on to the next issue about what happened in here with the items on the agenda. First of all, I want to say that all of the people who's involved in preparing that agenda, they do a good job. And I want to say there was no deception here. I agree there was no deception here. It was an honest mistake. But in all fairness, also I can appreciate you, Ms. Black, with your comments toward Richard Brown. I can understand your concerns about a gotcha tactic. You understand? But in all fairness,
That's a good way of saying it.
in all fairness, we don't pay Richard Brown, no. Okay, we pay you all. But I want to reiterate again, there was no deception here. I agree with that. It was an honest mistake. And the people who prepared this agenda do an outstanding job.
Thank you. We agree.
And in closing, I want to say, well, depending upon how much time I got left, Ken, I want to ask you if you sent anybody out there to take a look at that U-turn on East Loyola by the I-10. And in closing, I want to say to the people, to the voters of Kenner, the closing day for early voting is the 23rd, which is Saturday. The general election is March the 2nd at the polls. Please get out and vote. We got a judgeship race, and we got the 7th and 9th district up for grabs. So please, all the citizens of Kenner who's eligible to vote in that election, please turn out and let's vote.
Thank you, Al. You still
Anybody got any comments, any questions for me?
still have 20 seconds.
Anybody? Thank you, Ms. Black.
Thank you. Hearing no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?